And we'll probably do this in 15-minute chunks because I'm not sure how the how much memory is on her computer here. This is I'm Owen Goldin. This is my aunt Ellen Davenport, my beloved aunt, and she basically, if you would like to say a little bit of reminiscing about your mother and then your father, and then whatever you feel like talking about, really, your own life, other family members. You can just start, and if I have additional questions, I can ask.
Okay. My mother died let's see when she died, 1979, and that's a long time ago now. But she was a sweet woman and very lovable. And towards the end, she was losing her marbles pretty much. I don't know if it was Alzheimer's or what it was, but she wasn't very much there. And my father died in the 1960s, and in his 70s, and that was unfortunate. He didn't take care of himself. He didn't like doctors. In fact, he despised doctors.
Really? I understand that.
And he probably would have lived a long time after that if he had gone to a doctor and gotten his blood pressure taken care of. But oh no, thumbs down.
He was a stubborn man, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, well he was very full of himself. He was that way as a young man, and he rejected his family very much when he was young.
Did you want to talk a little bit about that? If I don't want to ask you anything that's not comfortable to talk about.
Well, anything's comfortable to talk about. He was a very promising youngster, and when in his early days in the law, he created a lot of interest. But as the years went on, he let things go, kind of. He didn't work as hard as he could have, and he just got to be overweight, and he was a Republican. He and I used to fight about that a lot.
I have several folders of the clippings whenever he would give a talk, or whenever he would have something published. He would put it in these green folders. So he was very proud of his accomplishments in the law.
Well, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think his son was very proud of him. Mm-hmm. His son was crazy about him. They got along so well. They were big buddies. And we were poor. We were always needing money. He lost interest in making money, I think. He just thought it was a waste of good time and energy.
What was he interested in?
He was interested in books. He was a scholar, first and foremost. And that was his love, his great love of his life. Buying books, trading them around. Just had a lot of fun with that.
You want to talk about the sort of person your mother was, as you remember her in her prime?
My mother was a very sweet lady. She was overwhelmed by my father, who took the leadership in the family, and didn't give her much slack. She became more and more quiet and sensitive, and she wasn't as alive as she should have been. She was very charming and sweet and beautiful as a young woman, but she faded as the years went on, very much so. And it's really a shame. She wasn't valued and prized the way she should have been. And I'm very guilty about joining in with my father and brother in putting her down.
When she was happiest and in her prime, what would she do? Was she very social, interested in friends, or was she a homemaker? What was if things were good for her? What would she?
She was
doing?
a super homemaker.
Mm-hmm.
She did a lot of cooking. As far as friends were concerned, the two of them just didn't have many friends. In fact, if they had any, they disappeared after a while because it was an unhappy combination of man and woman, mm-hmm. and that's not attractive to people, to friends. So she was kind of isolated. It was a sad situation. I guess my father should have married somebody like your mother, somebody very adept at doing everything that she wanted to do. Your mother really was very, very good at managing her life.
She was good both at being a good wife and having things her way as well. She managed to balance that. I have on one of these videos my father talking, and maybe someday we can sit someplace where there's the internet, and I can, if you wanted to see it, you could watch. But of course, your perspective of him would be very different from mine or his own.
Oh, absolutely.
So, did you want to tell me a little bit about what he was like as a child and then a young man?
Well, I have no idea what he was like as a child. As a young man, he was very full of himself and wanting to get away from Shenandoah and his parents very much, and he did. He really disappointed his parents very much. They wanted him to take over the business, mm-hmm. and he said, "No, not for me." And he sort of stuck with his younger brother with the business. My Uncle Max mm-hmm. took it over, mm-hmm. and Max was not good at business, I don't think. He was a popular person, very warm, sweet person, and he let the business get away from him. I don't know what happened those last years, but Uncle Max sort of fell apart, and he came to Philadelphia during the war years to work in the Navy Yard, and to be sort of near his ex-wife and their two children, and he finally killed himself. It was very, very sad.
That's what I understand.
Yeah, it's a horrible story.
How about my own father? What was he like as a child, as a brother, as a young man?
Very dynamic. He was very dynamic, and he was very fond of music, and he apparently made music with anything he could get hold of as a kid. And of course he took up the flute when he was an adolescent, and he studied with William Kincaid, the flutist of the Philadelphia Orchestra, and that was a big thing in his life. He used to come home from his lessons just starry-eyed. He had very good friends, and he was a very popular person in the neighborhood. He was a very successful young man, I'd say, in every way. I don't think he liked school very much, but he got better at going to school when he was in college. And my father said to him, "Look, you're going to be supporting a family someday. You better get with it. Start studying." And he did. He actually did. He became much better at studies, and his marks became very good. So Yeah, I'd say he was a very successful child and adolescent, adored by his parents.
Did you want to say anything about your own childhood?
I was shy and didn't do much, not very outgoing. I had friends in the neighborhood, but I compared to Stuart, I was sort of a quiet, retiring person. I was good in school. I worked very hard in my studies, and I did very well in school. But it wasn't until I became 18 or 20 that I really blossomed out as a person with friends and lots of things to do and happiness. I became a pretty happy adolescent.
When did you take up drawing and artwork?
I think very young. I think I was about 10 years old when I was making those paper dolls for all the kids in the neighborhood. They used to ask me to make them paper dolls, and so I would draw a doll, and I'd figure out all kinds of clothes for the doll, and they had the little hinges so that you could put them on the doll. So that was how I started out in art, paper dolls. And then my father was very nice about getting me to the Philadelphia Zoo on Saturdays. I was in a class with a lady named Miss Ridpath. And I was absolutely amazed to find that there was somebody living in this building who also studied with Miss Ridpath. And I was absolutely thrilled.
This building here in
the building we're in. Yeah, she remembered Miss Ridpath very well. And so my parents were eager for me to study art, and they did everything they could for that. And I went to the Academy of Fine Arts and did well there. Of course, those were the war years. I started there in 1942 and was there till 46. And in those war years, my work looked very good because all the men were overseas and battling for the country. So, and I was successful at art school. I won a Crescent, which was a high honor, and of course there were 8 of us who did that. But it created a lot of stir and very good for my ego.
Not that we have time to dig up stuff today, but do you have artwork from all periods of your life still?
I have some.
Is it sorted so that people will be able to see do you have dates on it and that sort of thing?
I don't know how sorted it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, someday we should go take the trouble so you can say this is from when I was in art school. This is from the 50s, 60s, so that we can have a sense of your development as an artist.
We could do that.
I would like that someday.
We could do that.
Okay. What I'm going to do now is we're going to, as I say, I don't know how much memory the computer has, so I'm going to break it into chunks so that we don't lose everything. So we're going to turn it off now.